What good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Nobody ever questioned whether I was strong. At 28 years old, I had already become the person everybody depended on. My phone never stopped ringing. My younger brother called when rent was due. My mother called when bills piled up. Coworkers called because they knew I would cover another shift without complaining. Men called whenever they needed comfort. Friends called whenever their lives started falling apart. And every single one of them had me listed as their emergency contact. But nobody noticed I didn't have one myself. Nobody noticed I would sit alone inside hospital parking garages after 12-hour overnight shifts, staring through the windshield while my hands shook from exhaustion. Nobody noticed the freezer full of microwave dinners because I was too drained to cook after spending all day trying to save everybody else. I worked inside a trauma unit where blood became normal and crying became background noise. Every night I watched strangers fight to stay alive while something inside me quietly died. And the terrifying part was, I still smiled. That was the mask, the polished hair, the calm voice, the dependable woman everybody admired. But the second my apartment door closed every night, silence swallowed me whole. No husband, no real support system, no peace. Just the sound of my own breathing echoing through an apartment I could barely afford. I started sleeping with the television on because the silence became unbearable. Then came the panic attacks, small at first. A racing heartbeat inside grocery stores. Trouble breathing during shifts. Random tears inside hospital bathroom stalls while pretending I only needed a break. But eventually the darkness became heavier than my body could carry. One night after work, I sat inside my car outside the hospital garage while rain slammed against the windshield. My phone buzzed over and over again. My brother needed money. My supervisor needed coverage. A man I already knew would disappoint me wanted attention. And my mother left a voicemail asking if I could just hold everything together a little longer. That sentence broke me because nobody ever asked if I was okay. Nobody asked what holding everybody together was doing to my soul. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back at me. My eyes looked empty, like somebody surviving without actually living, and for the first time in years. I stopped answering the phone. I cried so hard I could barely breathe. Not polished tears, not graceful tears. The kind that shake your entire chest until every hidden piece of pain finally escapes. And somewhere inside that darkness, sitting alone in that parked car with mascara running down my face, I whispered a prayer I had not spoken since childhood. God, I can't carry everybody anymore. That night changed everything. Not instantly, not magically, but honestly. I started therapy, started saying no, started going back to church, even when shame told me not to walk through those doors. I learned that being needed was not the same thing as being loved, and slowly, painfully, I stopped sacrificing my soul just to keep everybody else comfortable. Because Mark 8:36 stopped feeling like scripture. It became a warning, a mirror, a rescue. This is God's grace, stories of redemption. And sometimes, the loneliest people are the ones everybody depends on.
If this story meant something to you, if it reminded you that grace is still writing chapters you haven't seen yet, don't keep that hope to yourself. There is someone in your life who needs to hear this tonight. Share this message with them. Take a moment to like this video so more hearts searching for redemption can find it. And subscribe to God's Grace, stories of redemption, so you never miss the next story God is unfolding. Because Scripture reminds us, because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for His mercies never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Lamentations 3:22-23. That means no story is finished, no failure is final, no night is permanent. And the next testimony, the next breakthrough, the next story of redemption may be closer than you think. Stay tuned, stay expectant. And remember, grace is still at work. We'll see you in the next story.
As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. That verse used to make me angry, because if that scripture was true, then what did it say about me? Every thought in my head felt poisoned. Every mirror looked like evidence. Every mistake replayed itself like a courtroom video I couldn't shut off. I walked through life like a man already convicted. Smiling outside, rotting underneath. And nobody knew. Not the men at work laughing beside me. Not the people shaking my hand at church. Not even the woman I loved before I pushed her away with my silence, my temper, my distance. Because that's what self-hatred does. It isolates you slowly, quietly. It turns your own mind into a prison cell and convinces you the lock belongs there. I remember one night sitting in my truck outside a gas station at almost 2 in the morning. Engine running, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned pale. I had been driving for hours with nowhere to go because going home meant being alone with my thoughts, and my thoughts were brutal. You're a failure. You ruin everything you touch. God couldn't possibly want someone like you. The terrifying part wasn't hearing those thoughts. The terrifying part was believing them. Because eventually a man becomes whatever voice he listens to the longest. That's what Proverbs 23:7 was exposing inside me. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. I thought I was worthless, so I lived reckless. I thought I was unforgivable, so I kept sinning like redemption was impossible anyway. I thought I was broken beyond repair, so I stopped trying to repair anything at all. That mindset nearly destroyed me. There are men walking around right now with dead eyes and functioning bodies. Men carrying trauma they never speak about. Men who hate themselves so deeply that they sabotage every blessing before it gets too close. Men pretending to be strong while secretly praying nobody notices they are drowning. That was me. And maybe that's you too. But the night everything shifted wasn't dramatic. No lightning, no crowd, no cinematic miracle. Just silence. I was sitting alone in my apartment after another angry outburst. A hole punched through the bathroom door. Blood on my hand. Shame filling the room thicker than smoke. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back at me. And for the first time in years, I stopped arguing with God. I didn't pray some polished prayer. I just whispered, "If you still want me, I'm tired of fighting." That was the beginning, not the ending. Because redemption is not instant, it is war. It is waking up every day and dragging your thoughts back into the light when darkness feels easier. It is learning that healing does not erase scars. It teaches you why they exist. Slowly, the lies started losing volume. Not because life became perfect, but because God's voice became louder than my self-hatred. And that changed everything. This is God's grace, stories of redemption. And if your mind has become a battlefield, understand this. The enemy does not need to destroy your body if he can convince your heart that you were never worth saving in the first place.
If this story meant something to you, if it reminded you that grace is still writing chapters you haven't seen yet, don't keep that hope to yourself. There is someone in your life who needs to hear this tonight. Share this message with them. Take a moment to like this video so more hearts searching for redemption can find it. And subscribe to God's Grace, Stories of Redemption, so you never miss the next story God is unfolding. Because Scripture reminds us, because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for His mercies never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Lamentations 3:22-23. That means no story is finished, no failure is final, no night is permanent. And the next testimony, the next breakthrough, the next story of redemption may be closer than you think. Stay tuned, stay expectant. And remember, grace is still at work. We'll see you in the next story.
Shame is louder than guilt. Guilt says you did something wrong. Shame says you are something wrong. For years, I believed I was ruined, not broken. Ruined. I didn't wake up wanting to destroy my family. I woke up exhausted. Exhausted from being everything to everyone. I wanted escape. Comfort. Relief from pressure. What I needed was humility. But humility feels like weakness when pride is running your life, so I numbed myself and I lied. Every compromise felt small, every secret manageable, until it wasn't. Sin doesn't explode all at once. It erodes, quietly, like water under a foundation. And one day, the house just collapses. When everything came into the light, there was no dramatic speech, no defense, just exposure. And I waited for God to punish me, to shame me, to confirm what I already believed, that I was unworthy. Confession didn't fix my marriage. It didn't rewind my daughter's disappointment. It didn't restore reputation. Redemption didn't erase consequences. It forced me to face them, without excuses, without blaming stress, without blaming loneliness. I did this, and it hurt people. Psalm 51:7 says, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow." I used to think that verse meant instant relief. But cleansing is not cosmetic, it's surgical. God didn't shame me, He exposed me, and exposure felt fatal until I realized it was mercy. The temptation didn't disappear, the loneliness didn't evaporate, but something inside me shifted. I stopped asking God to restore my comfort and started asking Him to restore my character. That's slower, harder, quieter. I couldn't fix my past, but I could refuse to repeat it. I couldn't undo betrayal, but I could become trustworthy. Redemption wasn't getting my old life back, it was becoming someone safe. This is why I tell my story. On God's grace, stories of redemption. Because grace didn't excuse me. It cleaned me. He didn't shame me. He cleaned me. Not overnight, not without pain, but completely. And I would rather live forgiven and exposed than admired and hidden. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. He did.
If this message touched your heart, then stay connected to God's grace. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you never miss a message of hope, faith, and love. God bless you.
If this story meant something to you, if it reminded you that grace is still writing chapters you haven't seen yet, don't keep that hope to yourself. There is someone in your life who needs to hear this tonight. Share this message with them. Take a moment to like this video so more hearts searching for redemption can find it. And subscribe to God's Grace, stories of redemption, so you never miss the next story God is unfolding. Because Scripture reminds us, because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for His mercies never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Lamentations 3:22-23. That means no story is finished, no failure is final, no night is permanent. And the next testimony, the next breakthrough, the next story of redemption may be closer than you think. Stay tuned, stay expectant. And remember, grace is still at work. We'll see you in the next story.